In this video, I'm going to show you how you can record scripture, Bible stories, literacy on a digital recorder like a Zoom or on a phone like an Android or iPhone. So let's get started. So I'm going to show you a method of doing recording that we developed over a decade ago. We use this to train local people to record radio programs, and we used this Marantz recorder here, and they were able to do this in the method that we used, and they were able to produce hundreds of radio programs that they aired on Radio Bougainville, and I'll have a video after this, kind of a promo video that we did. But they did the editing on Audacity, and then they literally carried it across the street, and people just love hearing it. They wanted to hear their local language, and so it was really positive. But the thing is, with this method, it's really flexible. You can record scripture or Bible with it. You can do videos or slideshows with this method, or you can do literacy. So here's the one with the eagle here. And so you can just do the audio only, or you can make it into a slideshow. But it's also flexible because you can use this method with a digital recorder like the Marantz, or there's lots of different digital recorders. And there's other type of handheld like the Zoom here, and there's all different kinds of these devices, different prices, different quality. Or you can do it on an Android phone. People have the phones, or you can even do it on an iPhone here. So on these devices, they will have a way of default naming the files. It has to name the file something. They can't just leave it alone. So on most of these devices, it's like on the Marantz here, it just will start at 1 and just will continue on. Or on this software right here, it did, recording 7, 8, 9, 10. And if you delete those, it'll go 11, 12, 13, 14. So we can take advantage of those numbering here. There's lots of Android recording software. If you go search on vraudio.voice recorder, you'll find this software. And there's several features that I really like about that software. And so you can install it. Now, let me show you the features that it has. All right, so here is the app, and it's just really basic. And so I'm going to go to the top right here, and I'm going to click on the little wheel. And so then here they have the remove ads. You can pay $5 if you want to pay for that. If you're offline, the ads don't seem to come up. The recording interface is just how it looks. It's a microphone or an equalizer. And so you can play with that if you want to. The microphone adjustment, I found that the device auto control works really well, but if you need to, you can control it independently. Recording type, MP3s, I think is adequate for the narration that we're doing here and the situation that we're in. And then we have the default file name. And this is what I like, is that you can do a prefix. And you can see here that we're going to record Matthew 2. So I put in 41, Matt 02. And when you change that, if we go to chapter 3, when it does the auto numbering, it'll put a file number 1, number 2, number 3. Then when you change this prefix, it will change the numbering back to 1, 2, 3. So it's really nice to be able to start over from the beginning when you're doing a new chapter. Quality, 44 is fine. And then down here, recording location, you're not going to be able to go to it here. But if I go to it I can go to it on my phone, and it's under Music V Recorder. So you can actually see the files and actually move those if you want to, but we're going to send them and share them from the app here, so we don't need to do it. But if you need to, you can actually get the files off here, or if for some reason the app crashed, you can get those files still. Some recording software hides away the audio files, and they're hard to find. Because these microphones seem to pick up everything, you need to find a quiet place, and they're typically going to record on their own or with a helper with them. So I found that like a closet with clothing in it, we will knock down the echo, and that's what you want to do is it might not soundproof the place, but you don't want the echo. So where the green mic is, you might be able to put the phone there or put the phone down here, and then they can read. They can read from the paper right here. So now we're going to go old school here. So here we have the script, and we found that printing it out works the best. To actually have it print out and write on it. You can do this on a computer and make your markings or somehow on there or take notes other ways, but we found that this was the most simple and the people really understood it and got it. So we're going to go up here and we're going to start at the very top and we're going to record Matthew chapter 2. And it doesn't say Matthew, but we know this is chapter 2. So we're going to go ahead and hit the record button down here. And the space before you start reading and the space after is fine, because in post-production, we're going to take those and remove those spaces. And it's easier to remove space than it is to add space. So it's just when you're listening back, it's just going to say, Matthew chapter 2, then maybe a long pause, then the visit of the Magi, then a long pause. And so you're going to have these pauses when you're listening back, but it's typically not that bad. So we're going to start up here, and we're going to hit the record button, Matthew chapter 2. And we hit stop, and you'll see up here, it says, right by where my cursor is, Matthew 2, and it has a number 1. So this is file number 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it and we're going to write a number 1 right up here. And so that number 1 will let us know that this is file number 1. And we hit OK, and it takes it and saves it up there. And I'll show you in just a little bit here. And now we're going to show a little bit of prophecy here. We're going to show you the rest of my marking here. And so now we're going to record this right here. The visit of the Magi. And we hit here, and you can see that that's file number 2. So we hit OK, and it goes up to the top there. Get rid of that guy. And then if you look in here, you'll see that there's file number 1 at the top, and file number 2 is the next. And I found that the sorting is best if you go to sort, and you go by date. If you go by file name, what it'll do is go file 1, then file 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So let's go back here, and now we're going to do this. I'm not going to read all this. So we're going to come in, and we're going to read this right here, verse 1. Hit here, and now they're recording verse 1 along here, and they go verse 2, and they actually come along, and they go into verse 3, and they make a mistake at king or somewhere in there. So they stop, and this is file number 3. And so we hit OK, and we write a 3 up here. Even though it went into here, in post-production, we'll know that we need to go along, and when it says worship him, we need to trim the file off here, bring number 4 in, and then we'll listen. And when we hear when Herod the king, then we know this is the right file. So don't worry about this right here. In this software, you can edit, but I highly suggest you don't edit in the software. Do it in the post-production, because you might make mistakes and do some ruining of things. So let's just do it in post-production. So now we're going to start here at 4. So we're reading verse 3, and we come along, we read verse 5, and we come down here to verse 6, and we make a mistake at Bethlehem. We mispronounce Bethlehem. So we stop, so we look there, and so we're going to write a 4 here, and the 4 is up there, and so we hit OK. Now if you look down here in my little prediction, you'll see that this is 4 here, and this is 7. So what happened? Well, for some reason, Bethlehem was a hard word to say. So they go along, and they try to read Bethlehem. Nope, that's no good. So they stop and said, no, we don't want that. So they're going to delete it, and it's going to ask us, yes, allow to delete that. Okay, and we're going to give it a go again. So we're going to record again, and we go along, and nope, you messed up again. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, and we're going to delete that again. And so it's gone. And so now we're going to record, and this time the person's going to get it, and they're going to go along all the way down to star and make a mistake at star. So now we're recording verse 6, now we're in verse 7, and come along and we make a mistake at the word star. So they stop. And so if you look here, there's the number 7. So we write down 7 because this is the good file. So we hit OK, and it goes on up to the top here. And now we're going to go here, and we're going to start recording here. So it's in the middle of a verse, but that's okay. And the recording has this all the way to the star, but we know when we're listening back in post-production, when we get to them, we want to bring this the in here, and we'll continue on. So now we're recording the end of 7, and we go all the way down to verse 12, and they get it, and they do really well. And so here, verse 8, and we hit OK, and it's all the way up at the top here. So now we're going to take it and we're proof. Say that we recorded the whole book of Matthew 2, and we want to proof it. So we go up to the top left here, and we click on that. No, thank you. And we're going to, we can see the files. We have file 1 here, file 2, 3, 4. Then, remember, we have 7, and we can look along at our script to make sure it's correct. And then 8. And so the nice thing about this is if you look down in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see the number 6 and then a little play button. Now, if you accidentally hit the delete, it actually just puts it in the trash, but you can say, no, I don't want to do that. I want to hit the play button. So it's a little kind of tight down here, but you hit the play.
Matthew chapter 2. The visit of the Magi.
So you can go ahead and listen to those. And so you can change the order too if you need to. Right now, we don't need to, but later on, we might want to change this order. So we're going to go back, and we're going to go back. And now, as we're proofing it, we found that there was a mistake, and it was an 8. But we did this whole section, and it was such a good job that we just want to correct where the child was. That might not be a natural break, but for my example here, we want to do this. And so we've had 31 files. So when we record this, it will be file 32. And I put a little red line there so it's be able to see. Here it was very easy to tell that it was here, but here sometimes you write a line. And then I have them underline the correction. So now we're going to go right here where the child was. And the person where I did the what, they'll know to trim that off. And so then here, and so for my example here, I'm going to go ahead and name it 32. And so I hit OK. And then when we go back and we can proof it again, and when we do these two right here, and we hit the play.
So now,
if we need to, say that we have several mistakes, and we have here, we can take this 32 and say that, there's all these verses, between there, 9 through 31. We can take this guy and move them up and put them right behind number 8 here. And so it's really nice to be able to do that. But when they do listen back and proof it again, they'll go along and they will hear this mistake, and then the next file will be number 32 with the correction. Now that they're done, okay, we can come here, but we can come back to here. No, thank you. And now all these files right here are good. And so we can click on here, 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 and yes, you're going to have to click on all these. And then you can go down to the share, the little share button down here, and you can share it. Yes, share now. And I decided to share it by email. So I can take it, and it's from Scripps Recording. I'm going to send it to somebody. I'm not going to fill that in. And then you can say, MAT 2. Oops. 2. And so then you can take it and you can send it. And so then these files will go off, and if they need to get on data or something like that, and they can see that these files have gone. And then the next thing that they're going to do is the script. You can do it in the same email, but I just find it easier to just scan it or take a picture, and you can let it upload to Google Photos and you get it from there. I found that, if they email it, then they know it's gone, and so it's going to be, Matthew 2 script or Matthew 2 audio or something like that. But the thing that's nice is when they send it, it goes out, and Johnny is doing the recording here. It goes out and it's put into his sent folder. So whatever email software you have, it's going to be there. And then also, it's going to be in David, who's receiving this, it's going to be in his inbox. So we have redundancy. We have the recording saved to the sent folder. We have it here, and we have it on the phone. So now that they have the files there, they can go here again, and they can go ahead and choose all these files, and they can put them in the trash. Okay, they'll move to the trash, and you say allow that. And so then Matthew's cleared out of here, but they're not gone. They are on the phone still. So we're coming into the music and then the V recorder. And so you see in the front here, it says trash, trash, trash. But the files are named correctly. So they are here and they're not gone. And when you come to this little trash can at the very top here, now this is where if you say delete all, they will all go and they'll be taken off the phone. But you can click on them if you want to. And down in the bottom left here, I can say restore. And so then I'm going to restore those 2 files, and they've come back. So it's not totally gone, but I find that it's nice to be able to just get these moved out. So now when I go into here, go back, go to here, I'm going to go to the name, the prefix here, and I'm going to change it to 3. Now it's going to start renumbering them. When we record here, okay, Matthew chapter 3. And so right here, it's starting to number it at 1 again. So it's 3-1. So pros and cons. Okay, I guess I'm a little biased here because I developed this. So you might say that there's more cons than pros, but I'll just tell you what I think. The pros are that it's very flexible. You can record, all kinds of scripts, and you can record with all kinds of devices. So you're not limited to just a certain software or a certain type of script. The setup's real simple. You just download the software and you print the script, and it can be printed from anything. Okay, modified for the skill of the reader. In other words, if the reader is very techy and they can do a lot on the phones, and it's really amazing, just the younger generation, what they can do. So you can make it, a little bit more difficult, or you can simplify according to the skill of the reader. And you can have multiple people doing this. You can have one person on one phone doing one book, another person on another phone, and they don't even have to be located together. They can be all over the world because they're emailing it in to a central person. And they don't even have to be emailing it very far. They can just be emailing it to the person in the same room or to themselves. The reader knows the files have been sent. So when they take it and they email it, they know it's been sent. They might need to get a WhatsApp or email back and say, okay, yes, we received these files. Then they might feel comfortable to move it into the trash can. And then it's flexible in the size the reader records. In other words, they can do little teeny sections. So if they can just go from comma to comma, or just a couple words, or it's amazing how some people can do really well, then all of a sudden they get really stuck on a few words, and they have to be able to record just little teeny sections. And with this, it's very flexible to do that. Or long sections. You don't have to stop every comma or every sentence or every verse. The person can just go and read a whole section. And if they don't make a mistake, they can just read that whole section. Or if they come back and they read the whole thing and they find one little mistake in there, they can do that correction in there. So it can be mixed, that they do little sections or large sections, and they're not limited by how that's done. And then they can play back all the files at one time. I like that about this software. A lot of them, you have to click each one. This, you can put them in a queue and hit the play, and it'll play through them. So now the cons, and you might think of more cons than I have listed here. There's more logistics for the reader, that the person is going to have to be able to mark the script and record. But we found that it's not very difficult. We've had some people that weren't very educated, that they didn't have a lot of training, but they're able to catch us. Record, take the number if it's good, take that number on the machine, and write it down. And so it was real simple, and that's why we like doing it on paper. So marking the script could be a little bit difficult for some people. Taking the picture of the script might be difficult, but I don't find that as an issue. Back in the day, when we developed this, yes. Nowadays, no problem. Sending the email and script files might be an issue, that there could be internet problems or other things like that, and the person might not be able to do that. But typically, if you go there and you show them share, they take the photo, they find it, they say share, send it to this email address. So emails typically will go over data or over Wi-Fi. So that's seems to be an issue. And so the correction files, like, our number 32, aren't played at the exact right place. They'll have to listen to that one file number 8, all the way through, hear the mistake, then hear the correction in 32. It's kind of a pain to have it that way. So if you want some help with this, setting up your project, feel free to contact me. My contact information is down below, and I can help you walk you through the system. And if you want me to help with post-production also, I enjoy doing the post-production, so we can talk about that. So hopefully I can help you in your productions of doing scripts for recordings. If you found any value in this video, please like, subscribe, and share so YouTube will recommend it to others.